One of the things that we know about children is that they do really well emotionally when they have a consistent sense that their primary attachment figure, usually their mom, is consistently and predictably available to them both physically and emotionally. And when children have an attachment figure who is not really consistently available to them, there is a tendency for them to develop anxiety. Now, there is a particularly severe version of this, which is called role reversal. Role reversal is when the mother basically assumes the role of the child, and the child is forced to assume the role of the mother. That means that the mother becomes sort of childlike, and the child has to take on the responsibilities and assume the identity of the adult, even though the child is not developmentally prepared to do that. So what does that mean? That means that the child is put in a position where they have to anticipate the adult's needs. They have to anticipate threat in order to keep the adult safe and free of harm, both physical and emotional. And you can see how constantly having to anticipate the needs of another person and constantly having to anticipate threat to the other person when you're not developmentally ready to do that could put you in a state where you become very used to detecting needs and detecting threat, which could translate then to anxiety. So there's really interesting research coming out of the University of Maryland showing that chronically anxious individuals are far more likely to have grown up in role reversed and also what we call enmeshed relationships, where they had to care for their attachment figure instead of having the sense that their attachment figure was consistently there to care for them. So let's now translate this into practical parenting advice. What this means is that it's really important to make sure that you, as the parent, are the person who is in the provider mode. That means that when you are really distraught over something, or when you're really anxious about something, you can turn to other adults for advice, comfort, reassurance, and so on. What you should not do is turn to your child to provide those things for you, because you are unfairly placing the child in a position of having to soothe you and make sure that you have your needs met when your child may simply not be developmentally ready to do that. And by doing that, you may be setting up your child to experience far more anxiety than they need to experience over the course of their lives. So it's never too late to reverse course. Take an honest look at how you play out your role in the relationship with your child, and make sure that you are really in the position of giver, provider of attention and soothing, and making sure that all of those child's needs are met, and that you're not placing yourself in the position of receiving those things from your child and becoming dependent on receiving those things from your child. I want to just make sure to say this does not mean that you shouldn't love getting a hug and a kiss from your child. What it does mean is that you should make sure to have your emotional needs met by other adults and by yourself, rather than relying on the child to meet those needs for you. This should help kids grow up with a real sense of containment, knowing that it's mom who's in charge and mom who's the caregiver, and freeing them of a responsibility that they are not yet developmentally prepared to take on.